welcome to the Pursuit of Healthiness podcast. I'm your host, Winanda van Delft. I'm a health and mindset coach, spaghetti and ice cream lover, travel junk, and a cat mom. I love conversations that are on a more raw and deeper level. And today's guest is Viktoria from Business Blockbuster. Studying formally to become a life coach, it was inevitable for her to commit to a deeply spiritual life. Over time, she developed a unique dual approach of business and mindfulness, where she also learned about business and selling while maintained her focus and curiosity on the brain and mind, particularly the field of the brain's neuroplasticity, and with that, our ability to change our thinking, thus changing our life. And that is really what astonishes her every single day. Today's episode is all about the importance of accountability and how our thoughts are crucial to a happy and healthy life. Hello, Viktoria. Welcome to my podcast. I'm so excited to have you over here today. Tell us a bit about yourself, what you do, where you come from, and how you managed to be where you are today.
Wow. Yes. Hi, Vinanda. Thank you so much for inviting me for your podcast. I am really honored to be here. And I just can't wait to chat with you a little bit and to provide some value for your listeners. So my name is Viktoria Szilagyi, and I am a US-based business coach. I was originally born in Hungary, in Budapest, but I've been in these States for the last 24 years or so. So I have a long history with self-development, and really, I just remember about 14 years or so ago when I started to learn about, just to dive in right away in the subject. But I just remember learning about the brain and how we can just really be in control of our own situation even more than I thought, and we don't have to be victims. So that really fascinated me, and over the time passing in my life, I just realized and learned so much more about how I can really create what I would like in my life. And so I guess this is how we kind of connected, you and I, regarding health and how we can get there and what that means for us. So I am just really happy to be here.
Oh, that's amazing. So we've talked a little bit about accountability, because that's a topic you love to talk about. That's what you said. So what is accountability really? What is it? What does it mean?
Well, that is certainly a topic that I'm really passionate about. So, in the dictionary, I am a big fan of words and meanings. And in the dictionary, how it's described is the fact of being responsible for what you do and able to give a satisfactory reason for it, or the degree to which this happens. So, what that really means is just over time, and in my coaching career, what I realized is there are so many of us who have a desire, who have a vision, who would like to achieve something, who would like to possibly lose some weight, or just change our diet, or just would like to get to certain places to be able to travel and see and hike and get out and just really change our lives, how we live it, even in health, with our thoughts and how we show up in the world. And what happens is sometimes is that we start to step on this path toward our desire, and we are really excited about it. And then something happens along the way and we fall off track.
Yeah.
And many of us actually have very valuable reasons for why we fall off track. And then we are not getting what we want. So I became really passionate about accountability because what I've learned is, again, many of us are doing much more for someone else than for ourselves. And really, many times we are going to satisfy what we promise that we're going to do if we know that someone else knows about it, or if we know that we will have an appointment next week and we need to show up, and we need to be able to report it back that we did it. So this topic kind of just really pulled my attention of how we can connect the dots between point A and point B, and point A is where we are at now, and point B is where we want to go. And many times it's actually not a lack of desire, or it's not a lack of vision. It's something else along the way that really stops us.
Yeah. So what is it? What is it that stops us? Of course, it's different for everybody, but
yes, it is actually a very good question. And please stop me if I start to ramble on these things, but I just really love this topic. Of course, there are many reasons why we stop, or what happens along the way. What I would say, if I want to simplify it a bit, is that many times fear shows up. And fear is a very tricky thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Fear is a very tricky thing because it can show up in many different ways. So it's many times it's not really obvious. It can show up in suddenly becoming busy with very valid things, with children, with our own health, with elderly parents, with our business, with a job, with our boss. Fear can also show up just kind of creating a lack of clarity, and then suddenly we kind of lose sight of what we are exactly doing or how we should be doing. Our plans suddenly fall apart. Suddenly we might lose motivation, and there can be a little bit of a yucky feeling in ourselves about our vision.
Yeah.
So I would say it's fear, Winanda, but it just shows up in many different ways.
Yeah, definitely. Like I've experienced it in my own life as well, especially this year. And I wanted to focus on my business and I wanted to make it work, but then all those questions pop into your head, like, oh, what if people don't think I'm good enough? Or what if it's not working? Or what if I'm overpricing or underpricing? Or, it's all those things came to my mind. And then I just worked on a lot of stuff, but actually I wasn't doing anything because of that fear of actually launching the program, on actually talking to people, because I was just afraid. Like you said, it's the fear that is holding you back. And it actually led to me personally this year, it led to me to a mental breakdown, because I was thinking so much. I was overthinking so much because I was so afraid to put myself out there. And yeah, it's not good. It's not healthy. But also, what I believe fear is also doing, we need to understand fear a little bit better, because we see it as something bad, but fear can be a really good tool, because fear is basically protecting us from the things that we don't know, right?
I love that. And definitely that's one of the things is why it is definitely a complex topic, why I found that this kind of niching in my practice actually brought me a lot of success, because that seems to be a little bit of a missing link of how are we handling fear, and what is really fear, and what is really fear for each and every one of us, right?
Yeah.
So in my sessions, when we are talking about these things, it's all tailored to the individual that I'm talking with. It's obviously a discovery on my end in terms of what is going on with them. And I have to acknowledge truly all of my clients being so courageous, because they are really stepping into this self-examination mode. They are showing up to these sessions and saying that we want this, but we don't know how, or we want this, but something happened along the way, or we don't know what we exactly want. And let's connect that right between point A and point B.
Yeah.
So fear is a very useful thing. Of course, it does protect us from many bad things and danger. And I am sure it's a pretty known fact. We hear it now many places, is that in the past, when we were running away from the saber-toothed tiger, then we needed that fear. We needed really, the adrenaline just rushing up all of our body, and we really needed to get that extra jolt of quote unquote high, that we can run away and really like protect ourselves or our family. But now in modern life, this primitive kind of side of our brain, or part of our brain, is still existing, but these dangers don't.
Yeah.
So what is really important is to be able to differentiate and see the difference of when this fear of flight thing kicks in and is unnecessary, which is probably most of the time, I would venture to say, in this day and age, and when it's really necessary. So once we kind of get to that awareness of we might operate in a more hyperactive way than we actually should or could, then that's step one for sure. And then step two is really about, okay, great, then how can I create habits for a self-regulation mode where I can self-regulate my fear, my energy. I can be aware of what's going on in my body physically, because many times it translates down from our thoughts, right, to our body.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then once I am aware of what's going on with me, then, again, what are the tools that I've learned along the way that I can use in different situations?
Yeah.
So it's a great question. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing I've learned when I was obviously focusing on self-development as well, and fear pops up. It like you said, it's an emotion. Emotion. It's a feeling that is holding you back often. But what I've learned, and I think that has helped me through a lot of aspects of my life, is that to thank my body, to thank fear for looking out for me. But it's not necessary anymore. Like you said, we don't really have the dangers in life anymore that we used to have. So it still pops up, but we don't really need it anymore. So what I always try to do is, if I feel fear from within, or anxiety is also kind of a thing that pops up with them, along with fear, I am like, okay, thank you, buddy, for looking out for me, but I've got it. Like, there's nothing to worry about. And I always try to picture the worst case scenario and the best case scenario. And I try to focus on the best case scenario, because often, like I would say 95% of the times, the worst case scenario doesn't even happen. And even if it does happen, you're not going to die. It's not truly that what we used to be afraid of, like seriously dying, like the fight or flight mode. The choice between dying and surviving, we don't have that anymore.
Right. And and that just brings us to the topic of really, the accountability program, and what I have is that it is a holistic approach. So you mentioned that you are paying attention to your thoughts as well. And we kind of approach what is going on with the person in front of me that I deeply care about, who is really put her or his trust in me and in my program, is that we are really approaching this issue from many different angles. And they usually get homework, and they usually get some assignments, and we are kind of, quote unquote, attacking the problem from many different ways. And I have one of the things that I usually give at the very beginning when someone starts in my program is that we go over a short process, which is the how to connect to your why. Jim Rohn said that a long time ago, that the bigger the why, the easier the how, or the stronger the how. Yeah, and so I am a firm believer of that I think one of the ways to kind of quiet the fear and to place ourselves in a more safe environment when this anxiety pops up is to connect to why why we want to be healthy,
Yeah.
why we want that thing that we want, why do we want to start a business, why is that, what is going on for us, what do we really want to achieve,
Yeah.
how do we really want to impact people around us, who are we impacting, right? What are the personal values that we are living by when we are doing these things? So we dive into that a little bit of what this is, and we also kind of discover how to practice this on a daily basis. And it's not a long process, but it is an important one. And that's one of the things, yeah, that most people start when they are enrolling in the
Yeah.
program, because it's so important.
Yeah, it is really important. And if you truly want something, you will find a way. Like you said, if your why is big enough, you will find a way to get there. And what most people, what I find in these days, a lot of people stay stuck in their job, even though they hate it and they feel miserable, but their why to pay the bills is big enough to stay stuck in that in the job, or the why it's their certainty that they know what they have is big enough to stay in a life, in a job, in a relationship, whether what it is about that you were that you're stuck in. It's your why is at that point big enough, but we can um well, I wouldn't say we can change it, because your why obviously um is your why, but we can change the goal. Like if your
Or
why
we can
is,
shift the why. Yes,
yeah, exactly, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We can
Uh,
shift it to a different area that
yeah.
might support them even more
Yeah.
than current situation. And it is so funny, because you and I connected over health, and I
Yeah.
know how important it is for you. And to a certain extent, yes, all of us will have some kind of issues. All of us are constantly working on something in ourselves so we can grow and we can develop, and we can really step into our higher self, and we can really, just be who we were meant to be. So there's going to be always a kind of a process of growing.
Yeah.
But to achieve kind of a baseline health, uh, both mentally and physically, and taking care of ourselves, learning self-love, that's a huge topic that
Yes.
that could be another series of podcasts. All of these
Yeah.
things are going to be important, because we can work out every day, and we can do all what we do, and we can look amazing. And if something is not okay in our hearts or in our mind, then it's not really going to work out. Or the opposite is true as well. We can have, great thoughts, and we can have a great family, we can figure certain things out in our lives, and then if we really neglect our body, then that's not going to work out. So it's probably an art of balancing many things
Absolutely.
at the same time to
Yeah.
to achieve that health. And for that, I just wanted to mention the 5 pillars, the 5 most important things. What I work with is that one of them is structure. I kind of developed this soaps structure, based on the first letters of the words. But
Hmm.
structure is one of them that I find is really important to people. So many people, as we mentioned it before, go into programs, and then they leave the program really, really just excited, and then somehow over time things fade, and then they
Yeah.
don't really follow up.
Yeah.
Or in my experience, I've learned that really community is a very important thing for people. So when they know that they belong to a group of like-minded people with
Yeah.
like-minded issues or goals, then they can rely on them, and then they can go back to the group and say, hey, what's going on, this is what's going on for me, and how what are we going to do about it? So structure is so important.
Yeah.
Then the other part of this whole soaps process is outlook. It's that we really, again, going back with my clients on what is it that is really going on for you, how can we shift that mindset that took you this far, and now you might need a different mindset to get ahead, right?
Mm-hmm.
We always trying to work with solution focused tendencies. So what is the outlook that we need to acquire to be able to move forward? And then and then the accountability part, again, how can we set up this accountability? For example, weekly check-ins, monthly recorded sessions. How can we set up different reports so they can fill those out on a weekly basis and send it in to me, or a monthly basis? So how can we put this part into this whole program and their whole structure in their life so it works for them? And
Yeah.
then we have progress. Again, it's just, again, constantly moving forward. They don't need to be huge steps, but it needs to be a very consistent moving forward um,
Yeah, progress.
direction. Yes.
Direction,
And
yeah.
then finally, yeah, and then finally, support or sustaining motivation. How can we have that support, the support that I am giving them, the support that we are learning to develop around them? So after they are done with my 6-month program, how can they have that support around them so they don't need me longer? So these are the things that we work in there. And it is, I'm pretty sure you know that as well from your career and your experience. These are so important.
Yeah, absolutely important. Yes. How would you say accountability, why is it so important? Because I mean, it is really important, and I was missing that in my own journey when I was younger. Um, so how would you say, especially on the mentally um, aspect of it, how important is accountability? How important isn't to have someone beside you, or ask um, for someone to help you and guide you and be that accountability buddy?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. And I do believe that accountability is the difference between success and failure, hands down. That is the bridge between the desire and action.
Yeah.
So we definitely have to take actions as well after we know where we are going and what we're going to be doing. So when we are creating the step-by-step plan, we are time blocking our calendar. We know what we're going to do for the upcoming week. We know what we're going to do for the upcoming month. Then we need to step into the action mode, and that's where accountability comes in, because many times we kind of don't do the action part, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly. Like we
These
have the
things, these
knowledge, but
yeah, we have the knowledge, we have the information, and we don't really need more of those.
yeah.
What we really need is a clear structure, and to know that someone is going to be counting on us to hear what we have achieved. Now, an accountability buddy to start with is an amazing thing. So I really encourage all of your listeners, if you can truly pair up with someone for a weekly check-in, or I would say a daily check-in as well, but that might be too much. But for a weekly check-in, that would make a lot of difference in your life as well. The difference between an accountability buddy and actually a professional or a coach is huge, though, because the buddies and our friends are inevitably biased with us, inevitably going to have a hard time to kind of kick our butts when they might have to.
Yes,
They're not
absolutely
going to
true.
say to us that that's BS, I don't believe that, or I know that's not the case.
Yeah.
So in order to preserve their relationship with us, they might not be really holding us accountable when it's really hard for us to stay on track. And someone like me, or someone like you, can really help people to stay on track. I really always bring in a lot of compassion to my coaching, and I always create a approach to my clients that is individual to them. And at the same time, when things are not happening, when the progress slows down, where we are not really moving forward, where there are suddenly going to be more excuses than really what was happening,
Mm-hmm.
that's when I can step in with all of my experience, and just say, hey, what's going on, right?
Yeah, yeah, but absolutely. Like family and friends, they They mean well, but like you said, when it's getting hard, they just want to see you happy and they cave in. And that it all comes from love, absolutely. And they mean well, but it's not helping you moving forward towards your goals, whatever your goal may be. If it's losing weight, starting your own business, having a great relationship, it's
Right.
it's like I said, they mean well, but you need someone who is looking from the outside in and not from the inside out. um
Right.
yeah, to really help you.
Yeah, and I was just gonna add that real quick, although I really don't like to use this kind of approach at all. But many of us kind of feel a little bit of a shame if we don't deliver on what we said we would do, right? So
Yeah.
uh, that's definitely not my place to invoke this feeling in people, and I don't do that at all. And at the same time, I find it that it is funny, because over time, as I coach them, they're actually developing a sort of enthusiasm
Mm-hmm.
toward coming to this session, because their mindset again shifts, and they realize that even if, let's say, there are some things to report to them, that what, Victoria, I didn't get to this, or I didn't do that, then we kind of go into of what happened and how we can correct it. So there's always that three kind of most important question to ask ourselves, is that what went well, what didn't go well, and what can be different next time.
Yeah, I
and
love that.
and and yeah, and just having realization on the power that we have in our own hands over our own lives, and how empowering that is. And we don't have to stay where we are at now, we can grow, is, I think, what's really exhilarating for the clients to kind of discover this through the process.
Yeah. Yeah, I just love that you do it like that, because I consider myself as like the least judgmental person I know. So that's how I talk to people as well. Like if you are putting them down by guilt because you're talking to
Mm,
them like, oh, why didn't you do this? And that's bad, and you need to do this. It's not working. It's not making the process fun. And I believe when it's not fun anymore, or when it's getting too hard, or like you said, when you feel guilty, it's not the feeling that you want to create about changing a lifestyle, or um yeah, whatever you're working on that point. It's not that is holding you back as well. So if you come from a place of understanding, like empathy, and non-judging about what they are
mm,
doing, and focusing on the solution, like, of course, we are all human. Absolutely, we
right.
cannot go in a straight line all the time. Like sometimes we take 10 steps forwards and take 2 steps back, and that's okay. But then we have to figure out, like you said, what went well and what went wrong, and how can we make it better, and how can we make sure that what went wrong is not happening again.
Right. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Definitely.
Yeah.
I I think that respecting our clients and fellow human beings as well is the utmost of importance. And I would never ever would want to work with someone who I don't feel that respects me. So I absolutely agree with you. Yeah, we are finding this balance of how to navigate this with our clients, that they feel supported the way they want to be supported, right? Because that's another kind of component of support, that we can support people the way we think they want to be supported, and that's not the case. They
No.
might need something else from us.
Yeah.
So to be able to deeply listen, to see what they need and how they might need it, and then to be able to create that trust between the two of us, the client and me, and then take it from there to be able to speak their language when things are not going the way they wanted it to go originally, right? We
Yeah,
set out a
absolutely.
goal, and then when we are not reaching that, how can we reach that? That's the main thing. So yeah,
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, we don't have to change our goal. We just have to change our approach. And we are all different people. And like you said, we all need different kind of support and different kind of accountability. Like some people need tough love, and other people
Right.
you need to be more understanding and need to show them the way. And it's so different for everybody, but that's okay as long as you work towards your goals. And like I said, no matter how you get there, you can change along the way, and see what fits with people, what doesn't. I mean, we are changing along the way as well. And what might work in the beginning doesn't necessarily have to work right now.
Yes, yes, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I am so passionate about this.
Too. I have a question, like, because you've worked with your clients, but also with your own life experience, when it comes to accountability and stepping up, what is the biggest lesson that you've learned?
The biggest lesson I've learned.
Yeah. Or just a life lesson that you've learned, something that you were like, oh my God, I wish someone taught me this in school, or I wish I could go back to my younger self and tell her this.
Well, that I would say there are, of course, many lessons,
Of
but
course, yes,
I think
absolutely.
one of the I think one of the most important one is understanding what self-love is and practicing that, and eventually that will lead to self-trust as well.
Mm-hmm.
And without those two, it's going to be really hard to achieve what we actually want. Many times we think we know we want something, and then it's not what we really want. And
Right.
or many times we are creating things around our lives that we actually don't really want, and we are not able to create what we actually want. So I would say, and again, as we mentioned it before, self-love is a huge topic in itself.
Yeah.
But I think to kind of start to dig into that, that's the biggest lesson. I wish that I've known that earlier in my life.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I'm working on it right now, and I love myself. And I was never able to say that out loud, but I truly do. And like you said, I wish someone would teach us that. And I understand that parents, if their parents haven't taught it to them, then they are less likely to teach it to children. But yeah, it's something we need to work on. It's something we need to create awareness about as well, because a lot of people think self-love or self-care is selfish, and that is absolutely not the case.
Yes, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
two different things for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, my last question. If people want to work with you, how can they find you? How can they contact you?
Oh, awesome. I have a website. It's called businessblockbuster.com, and it's busting blocks out of the way. It's not the video store. and and also they can go to a link, and if you would be so kind to maybe post that when you post our conversation, I would appreciate it. But it's tinyurl.com / accountability program, and
Yeah.
that's going to lead them to a link um, where they can sign up for a 15-minute call with me, and then we can discover one-on-one to see if this is something that they would move them forward or not, and if they would want to do so.
Okay, perfect. Well,
Yeah,
I'm definitely going to leave it in the description box so people can go to that and have a talk with you, or if they have any questions about accountability, self-love, just moving
absolutely.
forward in life, then they can contact you. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
Via that link. Yes, I'll leave it over there.
Awesome. I'll send it to you, and then they can use that, but they can just go on to businessblockbuster.com as well, and then they will find the right link there. I would love to be able to have conversations with people and really help them, support them to moving forward to reach what they really want. That's my
Yeah,
mission in life.
yeah, that's beautiful. Then we have the same mission. It's just in another
Yes, we
packet.
do. Yes, we do.
I want to thank you so much for this conversation, and I wish you a really, really great day.
Thank you so much for really inviting me. I appreciate it a lot, and I really appreciate our connection as well.
Thank you.
Have
Perfect.
a good day. Bye bye.
Bye.